to the programme both. Now we're going to get kicked off today with the news that AstraZeneca has decided to withdraw its COVID-19 vaccine. At this point, they're claiming that the reason for the withdrawal is that the virus has mutated. It's no longer, the vaccine that they produced is no longer effective against SARS-CoV-2. And they're denying absolutely that it's got anything to do with their recent admission, finally, that the AstraZeneca vaccine had caused so much harm to many people. On the BBC this morning, for example, they were very, very keen to make sure that, at least the BBC was, to make sure that they reinforced the notion that it was a very rare event. And then they went on to celebrate the speed at which the vaccine had been developed in the first place. But nonetheless, AstraZeneca at this point denying still that the decision to withdraw it from globally, in fact, was anything to do with adverse reactions. Well, that's one piece of news. The other piece of news is that the government is moving ahead with its narrative over the issue of antibiotics and so on. So if you remember last year, the UK Health Security Agency held a conference in November in Leeds, and the issue of antimicrobial resistance was high up on the agenda. So here's Jenny Harries, who at the time was saying, "I'm here to highlight the risk to everyone's health of antimicrobial resistance and call upon all partners to join the AMR SOS." So the government now has decided that they are going to, I've jumped ahead there, I do apologise. They've decided that they are going to roll out their new national action plan, sorry for the delay on that, on antimicrobial resistance, which they say has been launched to protect people and animals from the risk of drug-resistant infections. And this is in support of the government's 20-year vision to contain and control antimicrobial resistance by 2040. So this plan, they say, builds on the progress made in the previous 5-year National Action Plan and lessons learned from COVID-19 and sets ambitious targets to drive down inappropriate use of antibiotics and stimulate further development of new drugs and vaccines. Well, you got the preview of it. Dame Sally Davis, in fact, didn't say anything about cleansing or baby wipes in this particular release, but I just remind everybody what she had said with respect not to antimicrobial resistance, but to Novichok, the nerve agent. In fact, what she said in this instance is it's incomprehensible for any of us to imagine a world without effective antibiotics, but we're facing an antibiotic emergency already. Now, of course, she wrote the book on this several years ago, and she has been pushing this narrative for a very long time. But let's go back to the government's plan now and have a look at what they're saying. This new action plan will run from 2024 to 2029. It embeds lessons from the COVID-19 pandemic and will include specific commitments focusing on infection prevention and control and the development and use of diagnostics and vaccines. So in other words, they're rolling out the COVID plan with not only with respect to so-called viral pandemics, but also the issue of this. So they went on to say this, the National Action Plan will commit the UK to reducing its use of antimicrobials, such as antibiotics, antifungals and antivirals in humans and animals. It commits to continue to innovate through initiatives such as indicating that the world's first subscription model for antimicrobials, which was launched in 2019 as a pilot, could be expanded. So they are consulting on this at the moment. So what they have done is they've said that, well, we appreciate that antimicrobial drugs of various kinds have a value for the National Health Service. And so we are going to pay the big pharma companies a yearly subscription based on what we judge is the value to the NHS of these types of drugs. In the meantime, they're working as hard as they possibly can to reduce the use of these drugs. And so that brings us into a position where the NHS is potentially paying for something which it actually isn't receiving because they're on a fixed subscription model and the quantity of the drug that's being used isn't taken into account for this. Charles, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on this, but I'm not trying to downplay the issue of antimicrobial resistance or the overuse of antibiotics, particularly, I mean, antibiotics are overused. There's no question about that. They're taken like sweets by many people, and they're certainly used in the farming industry a bit too much. But nonetheless, this issue is being used, it seems to me, or looks to me like it's being used to build the same type of narratives for the type of behavioral control that we saw under COVID.
Thanks, Mike. Yes, I think that's absolutely the case. And I would argue with Sally Davis that I can absolutely see a world in which we do not have antibiotics. And indeed, I think that's the world that we should be in. But this is, as you say, this is effectively conjoining the control, money and fear narratives for the benefit of all those that are pulling those particular strings.
Yes. So in the meantime,